Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me yet again, episode 79 of the show. I am your host, Louise H. Reed, with listeners in over 145 countries and millions of iTunes downloads and ongoing podcasts. I'm the fortunate host here every week at this time to talk life and leadership with everyday people doing extraordinary things. People who take brave, bold action in pursuit of their dreams and goals and are here to share their journey to help you do the same in yours. Those who listen regularly know that's my general spiel. That's really what this show is all about and what I have decided to focus this show on. This week, I'm going to turn things around a little bit. We're going to shake things up, and I'm going to give you an extra special holiday show. And I'm going to have a special guest doing the show with me who will be revealed in just a moment. But before we do that, I also want to share with you that today is another Lady Boss Loyalty Prize winner announcement. Woo! So today I would like to say congratulations to a very special Lisanne Chisholm. Congratulations, Lisanne. Thank you for showing up so supportively and genuinely for me as well as so many others on the platform, and for always being such a great supporter of the show. So please direct message me your mailing address and I will get you some exclusive Lady Boss loyalty swag sent to you, my friend. Now, what's this show all about? This show is about a year in review. Sounds super fun? Stay with me here. So before we start setting big goals and thinking about 2020, I really, really want to encourage you to do what I'm going to do with you live on the show. And that is to take a pause and reflect on 2019. To rewind the clocks back to January 1st, 2019. And think about the successes that you've had, the highs, the lows, and the learnings. Why do we do this? We do this for many reasons. The biggest one being when we don't take the pause to kind of reflect on what's gone well and what's not gotten so well, we lose the opportunity to learn. We lose the opportunity to make some shifts or some pivots that really will help us take us to where we want to be. I have learned that that's kind of what got me to the age of 40 with everything that I supposedly wanted, and I'm saying wanted in air quotes, and I was miserable. I just kept going on year after year after year. So anyway, enough about that. Let's have some fun on the show. I'm going to pull out my passion planner, which is my hard copy planner, day planner that I still use, kind of kicking it old school. I do use online tools too. But this is a really great resource for me because for many reasons. I'll show you as we go through the show. So let's walk through this together in just a moment. Together, it's going to be with none other than, and I'm sure some of you have guessed it already, Mr. J. Andrews. He's going to join me side by side. For those of you, here he is, my main squeeze.
Hey everyone.
You got to come closer to the mic. Here we go. Peace.
Cheers.
I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this together. Jay and I have done a show for a few times. It's not a few times, called Chime In Tuesdays. And those who we're connected with on LinkedIn have really loved that. And so I thought I'd bring sort of a variation of Chime In Tuesday to my radio show in my holiday special. It's my holiday special. So we've not planned this out. You've heard me say before, life is live. So let's give our friends and our listeners a year in review. You have to remember, people, not everyone's watching.
Right. So if you were saying, wow, there is somebody with you, I was giving the countdown of 1, 2, 3. So
don't you do 3, 2, 1?
Oh, 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Right. Anyway, okay, so here we go. So One thing I will mention to you is that I have a tool that I would love to share with you, which captures all these questions that Jay and I are going to explore together and more, because there are far too many questions for us to share on the show today. If you want a copy of these questions that Jay and I are chatting about, please direct message me or send me an email. My email is louise@louisehreed.com. And I will share this simple, and extremely powerful set of questions. There's all sorts of questions you can ask. There's nothing special about these questions in particular. They just happen to be good ones. There are lots of other good ones. But if you can't be bothered to compile your own list, let me help you. So send me a message and I'll send it to you. Jay has something to say. What's that?
And if you are in your car and you're like, what'd she just say? And you're pulling over and you're trying to write and remember the very simple email address, it will be in the comments and links below of this podcast, that link, so you don't have to pull over and cause an accident.
I know, because everyone does want their hands on this
interview.
Yeah, they do. They do. Okay, so I've broken it down into 3 sections: highs, lows, and learnings.
All right.
I think it's extremely important that we look at all of those. We're not just looking to learn through the good times, but what do they say about,
well, if you don't
learn more in bad times or tough times than we do in the good?
I'm a true believer that if you don't experience any hard times and you aren't doing it right, that you do all your learning or a good chunk of the learning through the difficult times. If you're always having all the highs, when that low comes, you won't know what to do because you haven't faced any form of adversity.
Of adversity? You said diversity?
I said adversity.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I kind of agree. I kind of disagree. I mean, disagree in a sense that you can still learn through the highs. You just need to take a moment to figure out what was good about it.
I think, yes.
Because there's some, yeah.
Yes, or you can look at it this way. You can have a pair of sunglasses and look up at the sun and it still hurts your eyes, or you can wear a different type of sunglasses and when you look at the sun, your eyes don't hurt as much. I think it's the way you kind of look at it. I just believe that you need to go through some adversity to learn.
Okay. And those who regularly chimed into our Chime In Tuesday, I'm sure are not disappointed by this little banter. Welcome to Louise and Jay.
Welcome.
I see a podcast in our future together.
Most likely.
Okay, so let's start with some highs. For those of you listening or watching who are at home, I encourage you to do this along with us.
Yeah, so grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, or if you're going all high-techy, use the computer, type away. But if you want to kick it old school, grab that pen or grab your child's crayon and follow along.
Okay. So which one will I start with? So I want you, Jay, and listeners who are doing this exercise along with us to think about successes that you've had in 2019. So take a minute to kind of rewind the clock. What I have found helpful is pulling out my calendar. So I've already mentioned my passion planner. So my hard copy, old school calendar. You can also, if you've got like many people do, have all of their appointments and things that they've done throughout the year in an online calendar that can help to trigger some of your memories and things that you've achieved. So I want you to think about this whole year, people that you've met, things that you've done, things that you've achieved, or projects that you completed where you just know you rocked it. Could be big or small. We're looking for that feeling of, yeah, I nailed that. It could be times you pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone. And so here are a series of questions that might help tease some of that out. So I'm going to ask you the question. First, Jay, totally putting Jay on the spot.
What's new?
What's new is true. What accomplishments are you most proud of this year?
Right at the gate, there was a great event that went on, and it was basically building what your 2019 is going to be. And there was guest speakers, and I happened to be one of those lead speakers for the event. And it was such, you know, when you go to some of these seminars and you have these people speaking at the event, and you just walk away with, you've changed. When people approached me afterwards and they were chatting with me, that's how they said that they came into this thing thinking that they were going to learn some things from other people, and then when it came for my talk in the afternoon, they said it was life-changing. Things changed within them, and because my topic was about resilience and how you deals with adversity, and it positively affected a lot of people. And for me, of course, you're always going in there to, my motto is, you know, to positively change one person, you know, a day, and to change an entire group was very humbling, and it stands out in my mind quite a bit.
And I was there.
And you were there.
I was there. And it was as good as he said. Truly. It truly was. So
what about you,
what
young
about
lady?
me? So it's hard to pick just one. There are two that come to mind, possibly a third as well. Not possibly, I will say a third. So firstly, I had my first international speaking opportunity, which was awesome.
Raise the Roof.
Raise the Roof, and it was in Atlanta. So that was an amazing experience at No Longer Virtual, run by Sarah Elkins. Check her out if you want to learn more about that. A really, really small, intimate, and powerful conference.
And were you not speaking with a colleague of yours?
And I was gonna get there. Ms. Shelley Elslinger.
And now we're gonna get a big woo woo
for Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Really great connections, really great opportunity to speak there, and just a really great experience. Great experience.
And from the feedback I read online, it was absolutely incredible. So as to what Louise said, the next one that comes up in 2020, circle on your calendar, look it up, find it on, and just go.
It's in March 2020. I think it's in Chicago.
Oh, my home, Chicago.
Maybe I should go to the conference and you can go.
Well, you know, baseball season won't have quite started yet, but
that's true.
Yeah.
So there was that. There was in May of 2019, I celebrated my 1-year anniversary of having a radio show, which I was really, really proud of. And it continues obviously now. That's why we gathered here today. And I'm really proud of that. And then it's hard to not comment on the women who will remain nameless, of course, but the women who I coached, whose lives were forever changed, and what they don't know, despite my attempting to convey this to them, was how much being part of their life and their journey has changed me. It's been, I feel like I'm the winner in this.
I would agree with that. Not that I was there with you, but I'm saying I'm saying as a coach myself, when you coach someone, they're seeing, the change in them, and all, but we as coaches, we are growing with them, and there's a you know, kind of like an evolution within ourselves as well, and we change and we grow and we become better, and we would never get to that part if it wasn't coaching those individuals. So yeah, and those are the things that the people that we do coach, they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all those people
surprise! Surprise! I love you and thank you.
Yes.
Okay. What did you do, Jay, that stretched you outside of your comfort zone?
You'll have to let me get back to that, because I think there's been a few things that I can think of. Yeah, let me get back to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one.
Sure.
Would you like to know?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear.
It was my TV debut.
Oh,
when I
yeah.
had a segment on local TV. I have to give a shout out here to Rob Stratham for making that connection for me. It's not a platform that I have had exposure to or experience in, and I absolutely loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved being in the green room. I loved taking photos of other people who had segments before me as well. In fact, they asked, "Oh, do you work here?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm just a
guest,
a happy guest, eager to have this experience." It was really fun, different experience for me. I was extremely uncomfortable for a variety of reasons, which I shared in a LinkedIn post. Don't really care to get into it again now. If you're interested, go check it out. And I will put the link in the show notes too. And I really, really went far more public than I have before, I believe, in stating my passion and action that I'm taking towards gender equity and women in the workplace. It's been something that those who know me well and who have worked with me know about that, but it's a thorny subject for some, and it can be difficult to navigate. And so I've been standing back a little bit from professing my desire to see gender equity in the workplaces within my lifetime. Instead of the 200 years, I'm saying that's my mission. My mission is to be part of seeing gender equity in my lifetime. And I've been hesitant to really state that so strongly, but I really put myself out there in doing so on the TV show.
I have something to share. So over the course of this year, I have had the privilege of being interviewed quite a bit. But in particular, there were two interviews. Podcast interviews. And there was one that you can tell your story sometimes during the, because they kind of give you an idea of what the show is going to be about. But then there are times, and you're a great example, where you can go off in another direction and you start talking about topics you just didn't think you were going to talk about. And one in particular, it was not a podcast. It was actually a true interview, and the article was written and published. And I just remember having the interview, and I was very emotional. Like, I'm generally emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but it really touched aspects in me that I didn't think I would talk about. And yeah, it really did stretch me, because once you kind of lift the lid off that pot, it's difficult to put that lid back on, and not in an aggressive or anger. It's more of a very heartfelt emotion, and it was that stretched me, because listen, I'm all about pushing everyone's boundaries, and I believe being on the edge and doing all those things. And as Steve Harvey said, we all got to jump at some point, but saying you're going to jump and actually jumping are two different things. And I think, I said I was going to jump, and then I actually did. And in that interview, and that really pushed my boundaries.
So, hope you're playing along and either have decided you're emailing me to get these lists of questions, or you in fact have pen in hand. I'm counting on you, Leslie. I'm counting on you to be doing this along with us. So drop me a line and let me know what you're thinking. Okay, I've got two more questions for the highs, because I don't go too deep into the lows, because I do have a fear that people are going to sink too low into those. So let's just spend a few more minutes on the highs. Another reason I want to stay on the highs a little bit is we're very, very quick to recognize the shitty things we may have done, and we don't take the time to acknowledge and celebrate the good things that we have accomplished. And Jay has just had a light bulb moment. What's that, my love?
There is one thing I actually am kind of proud of, and I think the reason why I didn't think of it right away, and maybe this will touch on one of the questions, is that one thing I truly believe is shining a light on people that are absolutely just so giving of themselves that they have I believe every single one of us is a superhero, and we all have a superpower within us. And I have been, for over a year now, have been highlighting 4 individuals every Friday on the platform LinkedIn. And I was the first one to do it on this platform, and it's been gone over a year, and I celebrated that year anniversary, and it's still continuing every Friday. And I just think it's, I guess I kind of forgot about it because I don't consider myself that a hero because I'm more focused on everyone else out there. And I hope this goes on for years and years and years, because there are so many amazing superheroes across the globe that the world needs to know about. And it just makes me smile when I hear people getting back to me and they're like, I never would have known about these people if it wasn't for you, and about this Friday Fantastic Four, and how you have, shaped my business, how you've shaped my connections with people. It just, the light bulb went off. So.
And those who are watching would have seen Jay's reaction. So that the light bulb literally went off.
Yeah,
What's your superpower?
I think my superpower is connecting people. Maybe. I don't know. I never really thought about it. I think you probably know. I think there's probably people who know me out there.
I want to hear from our listeners.
Who know me?
Of course.
Because some random person may go and say, his superpower is drinking Guinness.
Well, that is true.
That is true. That's not a lie. That is true.
We do have a lot of common connections, and I happen to know that we have a lot of friends who listen to the show who do know you. So if that is you and you know my main squeeze, Jay Andrews, I'd love to know, as with Jay, what is Jay's superpower? I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there for others to comment on. I think I do have a couple more questions here. How did you grow this year?
How? I think for me, the biggest growth for me was more self belief. I think I grew a lot in the sense that I used to question myself, and I think it's good. You should question yourself. No one's perfect, and what have you. But it wasn't the 4-year-old question you all the time and being feeling that whatever you've done is not good enough. I think I grew a lot in that aspect. What about yourself?
So one is a pretty personal thing that I'm just going to put out there and share. It's maybe an impact of my growth, maybe. Debt paid off. Debt paid off. At the beginning of the year, I had a plan. No, I didn't have a plan. I had an intention. There was no plan yet. I had an intention of paying it off over a period of 3 to 5 years. Well, once rubber did hit the road and I actually made the plan, it happened within months. Mm-hmm. And so the growth, there was huge growth there just in the actions that it took to get to the point of making that happen. Listeners know that you and I, Jay, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, we met 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so prior where was I going with this?
I don't know, but here you go. Tangent.
Tangent.
But
My
remember,
brain.
this is a 1 hour show.
This is a 1 hour show. So we will pause that.
I will reel back in.
Well done, Jay. Nicely done. And then another way that I grew was that I hired an amazing coach who has been a game changer this year for me, and that's Joanna Garzilli.
Yep. And I think really quickly, we should tell the story behind how that
Finding Joanna.
So actually, just bear with me for a sec. Give her some props.
So we were at
okay.
My Happy Place, which is the bookstore.
And so for me, I'm not going to get into too much details, but I was involved in an accident, and then I got my brain rattled pretty bad and suffered like some brain frontal lobe damage, and it caused some issues, especially with reading, because I just lacked the concentration to read a lot. And anyways, long story short, a book really has to jump out at me to really grab my attention. And so we were walking through, we weren't together at the time, we were walking around separately. And this book, I'm going to show it. This is her book. It's called Big Miracles.
It's one of 3 books, but this is her.
And it's called The 11 Spirituality Rules.
The 11 Spiritual Rules for Ultimate Success.
And I don't know why, but it was just the binding of the book, spine of the book. And I'm like, Big Miracles. All right. And there was hundreds of books to look at. And I just pulled this off the shelf, and I started opening it, and I got through like the first couple of pages. But the thing is, anyone who has that feeling when they've been somewhere where something is calling to them, the book wasn't actually calling to me, but you know what I mean? That sense. And so I picked it up, and
it wasn't in an energetic way. It was calling to you.
Yes.
From an energy point of view.
Right. And then so I picked it up. I started reading it. I'm like, I have to buy this book. So I started reading it, and then I started telling Louise about it, and she's like, I got to read this book after you. Now, I like my books pretty much, Christine, like perfect. I don't mind a couple of wrinkles here and there, maybe a couple of sticky notes here and there. I don't abuse my books like a textbook. On the other hand, Louise highlights everything.
I call it love. It's
abuse.
It's love. I show my book love.
Abuse. Anyways, and so she goes out, and I said, you cannot destroy my book. So she went out and bought her own book, and of the same. And so, well, there you go. That's the story behind her getting this coach.
Well, it's not really. That's the story about how you got the book.
Yeah, but then I introduced you to her because you read her book through me.
How does that have anything to do with me actually hiring her? So what I did,
I would never have hired her if I didn't get this book.
I wouldn't. I guess I was just saying that's part A of the story, and part B of the story is
So I had a lot to do with this.
Of course you did.
With you getting a coach.
Of course you did.
That's right.
But I got my coach. So what happened next was I was reading the book, obviously, and there was a part in the book where Joanna describes a situation that she was in, and then how she just she just did the thing that her spirit called her to do in that moment. And as soon as I read that, I had this overwhelming sensation and feeling that I needed to reach out to Joanna and hire her as my coach. So that's exactly what I did. She phoned me and I hired her. So when was the last time you sent anyone an email? Who does that? I have not done that before, sending an author an email.
Yep.
And then
I got one.
Okay, of course you do.
Kevin Rempel. So this gentleman, I saw his, so I was a connection with him through LinkedIn, and he's actually amazing Paralympic athlete who is a Canadian, lives in Toronto. If you don't know him, please get connected with him. Anyways,
he was also on my radio show after the fact, but he was on my radio show, so check that out. It was
Kevin
really cool.
is an amazing man. Anyways, his story, what he has experienced, his life, just blew me away in a positive manner. So I reached out to him and said, your life story is absolutely incredible. You are amazing. Your interview with Louise, your documentary that was done on you, all these things. It's like, you're amazing. And I just think you needed to know that. Well, what does this guy do? He didn't know. He sends me a video message thanking me for, and I made his day. Then he sends me an autographed copy of his book. And did I not read that book like that? And he just put the cherry on the.
I think I love the story. I think you were trying to one up me on my story about hiring Joanna as my coach after reading her book.
No.
Okay. It was a very good story.
I got excited because
Kevin is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
His story. Wow. Yes. Okay. I have one last question of the highs. This is a tough one. Who invested in you this year?
You did.
Aw.
That wasn't hard at all. Honestly.
So why? How did you?
Because when you are an entrepreneur, when you go through highs and lows, and when the lows are lows, the lows are lows. And when you work for a company and things are bad, you still know there's a paycheck coming. You still know you have stability. You still know that all that stuff is still around you. So if there's crap happening at home in your personal life, with your friends, a colleague, whatever, you still have some form of there's some form of stability. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're your self-owned business woman, man, founder, CEO of your own company, the buck stops with you. And so if there's something shitty going on with outside of the four walls of your business, well, that's too bad. And if the business starts going crappy, well, you don't have anything to fall back on. And when times get tough, you really get to see how strong the fence is around you. And the boards on the fence representing your friends or the people that you know, sometimes those boards split or all of a sudden fall off, and the air gets through much quicker, and you really truly get to find out the strength of that fence. And I have to say that this wasn't a tough question for me. That was you. Period.
That's nice.
End of story.
That's nice. I'm not going to make you do the follow-up to this question then. This is a follow-up, though, to listeners who are contemplating these questions themselves, and that is, perhaps it's time now then for a handwritten thank you note to that person. But I get lots of handwritten notes, although I've not had a handwritten note from you in a while. I used to get all sorts of little love notes.
Well, I better, after I dropped the mic just a second ago, I better get down on the floor and pick that mic back up, because apparently I've got some notes to write.
No, it's not true. I'm just kind of playing with you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's turn this to the lows.
Yep, where you learn.
There are going to be learnings in both. The learning's going to come next. It's highs, lows, learnings.
Right.
So these are the things that you did or you didn't. These are things that you did or didn't do. Obviously, things that you did or you didn't do. So something that you did that went poorly, or potentially something that you had planned to do and you didn't do. Mm-hmm. That absence of taking the action can be a low in and of itself. So perhaps moments that didn't work out as well as you'd hoped or wished for. Perhaps experiences or relationships that didn't meet your expectations. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I'm wanting you to consider and think about right now, but not get too emotionally attached to it. Purpose of looking back is to make more informed and aligned choices moving forward. So that's why we're doing this. This is not a section that's intended to bring about shame, blame, or guilt. It's really intended to help frame your focus for 2020. Okay. And there is a Dr. Phil quote that I really like. And he said, if you learn from your mistakes, it's tuition. If you don't, you have just paid the penalty.
That's actually really smart.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dr. Phil.
Thanks, Oprah. For Dr. Phil.
Yes, yes. So Jay, what is a low that comes to mind in 2019 for you?
Well, I think as people know, I do motivational speaking at events and things of that area. And sometimes those events don't work out to the way you want it to be. And even though you may have done it 100 times physically and 1,000 times in your brain, there are times where things just don't go the way you want. And it's not only disappointing for others who have come to see you, but it's disappointing for yourself. And so I've experienced that, and that's tough. And but you grow from it, right? And I believe that I've done that. And yeah, if you focus on it, you're never gonna. It's like being in a car accident. If you get in an accident and you're like, I said, I'm never driving again, and you'd actually never drive again, then you never learned anything from it. But if you get back in the car and you drive again, you've learned something. You got to get, what is it, back in the saddle again?
Yeah. Again, to quote Dr. Phil, if you learn from your mistakes, it's tuition. If you don't, you've just paid the penalty. Powerful.
What about yourself?
For me, it's that I didn't take enough vacation with the kids in the summer. That's a low. It's a big low. It's a low because that was a big driver for me creating the kind of business that I have. And so I say this obviously with some sadness. It's hard to not think about the lows and have some of that emotion come back. But it is impacting how I plan my 2020. It's actually impacted me already in a contract opportunity that I just started this week. It's going to take me up to the summer, and my intent, I don't even know if I've said this to you, Jay, my intent is to take 1 to 2 months off.
Sorry. For all you at home, I'm gripping the table right now. I haven't gripped my heart yet because it's just racing a little faster. It didn't drop, but wow, okay.
Yes. So let's see what's realized. But my point in saying that is it's already in recalling the significance of that and the pain of that. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to have that again. And so what do I need to do differently? So that's I've already taken the learning. I don't really expect to do the learning part yet. That comes later, but I guess I wanted to share that. So that's the biggest one. Is there a mistake, Jay, that you made that you wish you could have a do-over?
Okay, so I have two philosophies on this. Okay, if given an opportunity to go back and change something, that means you don't like who you are, because if you hear me out, please, and all you people at home shaking your head, wherever you are, just hear me out a moment. And there's probably half of you going, yeah, Jay, I'm with you. I don't even know what you're going to say. I'm with you. So hear me out. We agreed that you learn from whatever you've done. So if you did something and you look back on and you reflect and say, hey, I wish I could go back and change something, but you know what? I grew from that. And because I'm growing, I'm actually becoming a better person. And I would never be this better person if that choice or that decision didn't happen. So if I don't love who I am at this moment, then yeah, maybe I would go back and change something. I would change that situation because I don't like who I am currently right now. I don't love who I am. So that's a really kind of hard one for me to answer, because I think you really, when you make those mistakes and you recognize it, own it, and say to yourself, I have actually grown from it. Believe me, we in our relationship and relationship with other people, like, you have to grow from that. If you get stuck and you never learn, then yeah, you go back and you would want to change it because you haven't grown from it. So that is my theory. But to answer your question, just But to answer your question,
Whose show is this?
yours, but I'm the guest.
Okay.
All right. But if there was a do-over, I think there are certain relationships that with people that I met over 2019, that I probably would have had a different conversation, or perhaps maybe not invested as much as I did. Because when you invest a lot into something, you obviously everybody goes in with best intentions, but I think sometimes when you really go in with these best intentions, and then when whatever that situation comes to the threshold, you really get to see the peacock's true feathers and of that individual, and that can be a very difficult pill to swallow. So that would be the one thing. I probably would just been a bit more cautionary. I still would have been acquaintances or been friends with these people, but I would have been a little bit more cautionary.
Just thank you for giving me the mic on my own show. I agreed with your statement about why you wouldn't want to go and do a do-over. I get that. I think what I was disagreeing with was that when you make a mistake, that means you don't like yourself. I don't think that that's necessary. That was what I was disagreeing with. But anyway, the essence of what you were saying, I totally agree with.
Okay.
I don't have a do-over.
Because you're perfect.
No. Oh, come on. As if I think that.
And wait, that's not drool. That's just sarcasm dripping. It's all right. I'm just having fun.
And I think Jay Andrews is now going to exit stage right. Stage right or stage left? I don't care which side of the stage you exit. Is there something you didn't do that you wish you did?
You know what? I'm going to say no. My initial reaction is a yes, but I'm going to say no, because obviously I wasn't prepared emotionally, physically, financially to do that event, or
whatever that thing
was. I think sometimes, I'm not saying we should always say, oh, I'm not ready, because then you'll never be ready. But there are actually times, if you push through and you're not mentally there, or you're not physically ready to take something on, or have the finances to take something on, you're actually going to make the situation worse. So for me, I just looked at, I was not in that space to do it. So I'm not beating myself up over it. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, and I think that's a great answer. And I think there's lots of learnings in that too.
Thank you.
So
what about you?
Oh, something that I didn't do that I wish I did. Yeah.
More vacation.
No. Oh, wow. That's always there. That's always true. No, because I'm not going to double dip on an answer. I am disappointed in myself about this. And so I'm going to use that energy then I'm going to shift it into doing something about it next year. And that is getting back on the horse, the exercise horse, the one that I was on for like 25 years of my life, and fell off for a couple years. So that was something that I had planned to do, was to get a more rigorous or consistent, not rigorous, well, I guess, but consistent. That was really the aim, to have a more consistent exercise routine. And I didn't. And I don't have any. It's not that I wasn't ready for it for whatever reason. I just didn't prioritize that. I didn't plan well enough, whatever it is, I didn't make time for that. And I think it's important to acknowledge when we have let ourselves down. I really do. Again, not for then shaming and guilting and blaming yourself. It's for taking responsibility and doing something differently.
I agree with that.
The end on that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't drop the mic because I already did.
Okay.
It's on the floor.
It's on the floor.
Which I was scrambling to pick up because I have to write you notes.
That's right. So last section, the learnings. So this is where we put meaning into the highs and the lows. What are we taking away from these high and low experiences? And this, I believe, is where the true magic happens. So Jay doesn't have his goals, his 2019 goals in front of him. I have them in front of me, mine in front of me. And so I would like listeners to grab their 2019 goals. And if they're not written, well, hopefully you will for 2020. I can help you with that too. But when you look at your goals, or at least reflect right now in this moment, think about your goals for 2019. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with how you spent or prioritized your time? So 1 being a crappy score, 10 being I totally rocked it, I'm a superstar.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to me? Or I thought you were talking to your audience.
I was talking to my audience, and I was talking to the fella who's supposed to be co-chairing or
I'm a guest.
So the question then was for you. I can take it first if you want. I would find this difficult to do without having my goals that I wrote down at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I don't have mine with me. So in all fairness, I would say I'm probably smack dab in the middle, a 5. Not too low, not hitting the high like I wanted to, but it wasn't a total failure. It was a 5.
And this is one of the reasons why I encourage people, one of the numerous reasons why I encourage people to write down their goals, because it actually really helps to see how you evolve over the course of the year. I'm looking at my goals right now, and many of the goals ceased to exist probably mid-year. They morphed and shifted and changed. And I think that's actually really neat. It's neat to see how that happened, how I evolved over the course of the year, so that these goals actually were eliminated because they really weren't going to get me to where I wanted to go. And so, although one of them is working out 5 times a week, and I have, what do you call that emoji? The emoji that's just got the lips that are closed and it's just like a straight face emoji. Yours look like a frown. Whatever. Straight face emoji for my working out. But lots of the other things, like the speaking events that I did, I was doing 1 speaking event a year, 1 speaking event a month for the first half of the year. So that was part of my goal. One of my goals was to one of my other goals was to have swag for my show. That's a little goal, obviously. I've got relationship goals. I had financial goals, and I totally knocked that one out of the park. I had body and soul goals. Some of those things were achieved. Business and work goals, radio show goals. I really, I'm pretty happy. I probably give myself a solid 7. A solid 7.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so I'd love to hear from you. How would you rate your 2019 on a scale of 1 to 10? And then what steps can you take to adjust in 2020? I know for me, recognizing the biggest one that I feel that I let myself down on, that I just shared a moment ago about the exercise, what I have learned about myself is when I do MMJ, meditate, move, journal, when I do that in the mornings, it sets my day up to rock. And then when I do that consistently, it sets up my life to rock, not just the day. And I think you've seen that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's funny you mention that, because I find that if I can get up, and I obviously try to do as much as possible. But getting up at 4:45 in the morning.
4:45?
4:45 in the morning, and getting ready to go for a run.
I've never seen you get up at 4:45.
Hun,
Because I was sleeping.
So for everyone out there, I'm getting up at 4:45, 10 to 5, entering that 15-minute window. I'm going out for a run, come back, coffee made, by the way, brought upstairs. And then the question is, oh, you went for a run? I didn't know.
Okay.
Well, because I have been up for half an hour, 45 minutes. Thank you very much.
But in all fairness, yours has been as consistent as mine.
When the weather was warmer, it was way more consistent.
And we're in Ottawa, Canada, and weather is warm for a pretty short period of time. Anyway, all that to say, this is not to poke at Jay. It's just to be playful. Yeah. And so that for me is something, an easy step. Easy, I say, because I know how to do it. I've done it before. I know what works, and I know the impact that it has on me. So that's an easy step I can take to adjust in 2020. We are getting close to the top of the hour. What the other questions that I have here, and Jay, I want you to choose one, but I'm going to read just a few more questions so people who are listening have an idea and playing along have an idea what's in this learning section. What or who are you most grateful for in 2019? What lessons did you learn this year? So that's where you go back to the highs and lows, look at what you wrote, and then ask yourself for each of those, what did I learn? What do you want to do more of in 2020? What do you want to do less of in 2020? How are you different now than this time 1 year ago? What are 3 things you'd like to improve on in 2020?
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
And you're telling me we're wrapping up.
No, because I want you to just choose one of them. Choose one of those for us to share. And then we'll have to wrap up.
I think what I really want to do more of, or what I really want to do in 2020 is I want to have an event that take something like the Fantastic Four that I talked about earlier in the show and make that an event. That is what I would like to do. And I do, before we do, end this, and it is a year in review, and it is the Louise H. Reed Show. And I have been very humbled that I've been asked to be on the show a few times, but I didn't want to give a shout out to a couple of your guests that not just because of our relationship, but I have to say there have been some incredible guests on your show, and it's actually, they're all great. But, some of them that come to mind that to me were just like blew my mind were people like Chris Mack wow. Chris Mack is absolutely amazing. What can I say about this woman that probably has not been said about this woman? She is absolutely incredible. David Breer, I wish I could go to New York City and hang out with this guy every single day, and I would just be the sponge and listen to David talk all the time.
Andrea Owen, who I kind of have this girl crush on, who is someone I've looked up to in the podcast world, in the self-help world. And when I reached out to her and said, you rock, would you be a guest on my show? She so willingly said yes. And it was an amazing highlight for me.
Yeah, she is incredible. And then Evans Duran, talk about the most kindest, biggest hearted man you could probably ever, and wow, incredible. He was amazing.
We've got Tabitha Trent. Talk about a woman on a mission with a story to tell and a heart of gold.
Carla Howard, she was phenomenal.
Carla, my lovely Carla.
Yeah. And the other and I want to say, because they go back to back, because there is Katie Cunningham and Jacqueline. I'm trying to.
Camacho Ruiz.
Ruiz. Thank you. Those two ladies, rock stars, mind-blowing rock stars.
And same with Gabby Arodell. She is she's going to be a stand-up comedian, and she's in the finance sector. She's just what a gem.
And speaking of absolutely hilarious, Sophie
Sherwin.
Sophie, oh, like I was in tears. You are absolutely hilarious, like amazing. Yeah.
We also had Joanne Lippman, someone who is an amazing author and a real advocate for women in business. She was a highlight.
Yeah.
And there are so many
There's
more.
Just so many more. Yeah. I feel bad that I haven't touched on, because I'm thinking Wendy Bird. I mean, there's just so many people that were on your show.
Melissa Hughes.
Oh, yes, Melissa, the Einstein PhD. Yes, it just basically. But you know, I have to say, and maybe I'm being a little family oriented when I say this, but I have to say, having your father and your mother on your show was absolutely incredible. I learned stuff about your mom, and
so did I.
And I learned stuff about your dad, and your dad and I talk, and so.
Well, so do.
But you know what I'm getting at? It's like it's different when it's your parents and whatever. But anyways.
So we could go on and on. A huge, huge shout out to all of my amazing guests. Thank you so much over this last year for spending your time with me and your wisdom and your insights. It has been, as you hear me say every single week, it has truly been my favorite hour of the week. Each of you have been my favorite hour of the week. So thank you for blessing me with that. Thank you to all of you as well for listening today. I hope you have played along or intend to play along. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you would like a copy of this worksheet so as to make this a little bit easier for you, send me an email, reach out to me any way you wish. Email is louise@louisehreed.com. Thank you to all of you, my loyal listeners, for joining me each and every week. And I will remind you, as I always do, that information about my show and all of my guests can be found at louisehreed.com. Also, a big shout out to my producer, Cameron Steele at Contact Talk Radio Network, and my partner in life and partner for this show, my love, Jay Andrews. So until next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm Louise H. Reed and
Jay Andrews.
Wishing all of you a beautiful, bold, and courageous day. Goodbye, my friends.